right, everybody. My guest today is a U.S. Navy veteran whose love of travel blossomed into a second career as a blogger and marketer. She's the co-founder of Tourism Currents, an organization that offers training on social media and marketing for tourism, hospitality, and economic development organizations. She continues to write for her blog, Perceptive Travel, and is also an evaluator for the prestigious South by Southwest Festival. Sheila Scarborough, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you today. You may have one of the most interesting resumes of anybody we've had on the show before. Before we get into the topic we want to talk about today, which is marketing and specifically email marketing, I'd love for you to tell our audience how you made that journey from the Navy to being a travel journalist to now being a tourism marketing expert.
Yeah, I grew up in a Navy family. Actually, my father was a naval aviator. So I was born in Key West, Florida, and then left when I think I was 3 and didn't go back until I was in my, I think, 50s. I'm a wherever I hang my hat is home kind of person. So I grew up, moving around, and my parents were avid travelers. So they schlepped me from one place to another and involved me in their travel planning. So then my dad retired from the Navy. We moved back to Texas, where they were both native Texans. Went to high school and college in Texas, and then I went in the Navy and moved around. To me, a normal life is when you move every 2 to 3 years. So I've lived here in Central Texas near Austin for almost 20 years, which I just find appalling. To be in one place for that long is just weird to me. But I've always loved to travel, and thanks to both Navy port visits and then, travel on my own. So when I got ready to retire, I was in about 23 years. I thought, well, what do I really enjoy my time in the Navy. And what would I want to do that I would enjoy as much as I enjoyed going to sea on ships? And I said, well, I like to travel and I like to write. And there are these things called travel writers, and I think I'll just go be one. So that was it. And an old friend of mine suggested that if I wanted to be a writer, also should probably start a blog, because this was 2006. And I said, okay. So I started a family travel blog. And as I often joke, I'm not actually very maternal. I have 2 kids, both adults. They survived me. I really don't know how. But my idea was that, I was going to travel, they were going to go, therefore I would write about family travel. So just like I was drugged from pillar to post, my kids were, schlepped from my kids were made to read historical markers. I started my family travel blog in February of 2006. And I honestly thought I was already too late to the party. I already thought, I'm getting way behind. There's no way I'm going to get any kind of visibility or catch up. Of course, there wasn't really social media as we know it, now back then. So there were some travel writer, BBS forums. So you could kind of talk about your blog posts there. And there was a few other places, but it was a little rougher getting found. And then in March of 2007, I, along with Tim Leffel, who's the editor, Tim Leffel, and a group of other people launched the Perceptive Travel blog as a group blog. Eventually, my kids got older and I put the family travel blog to sleep. I still get PR pitches for it. And I'm like, my dude, I shut down in December of 2010. Like, do your homework. But I'm still writing for the Perceptive Travel blog. Me and Tim are the only oldsters still left, still at it. But I love telling great travel stories. So at some point back in like 2008, a friend of mine, Becky McCrae, based up in Northwest Oklahoma, she and I had met through South by Southwest. And she said, with what you know about travel and social media, that would be really helpful to the tourism industry. And at the time, I didn't even know there was a tourism industry. I didn't even know there was a thing called destination marketing. It was okay. So she had some experience. I did not. So I really kind of had to, get it together, going to trade shows, asking questions, talking to people, doing a lot of research. The constant changes in social media for destination marketing, drive everybody in the tourism industry just as nuts as they drive everybody else. But with tourism, instead of selling, a thing, your product is your destination. And of course, if you are a tourism partner like a group tour operator, your product is your tours, your services. So, you're not selling, as they say, a box of soap. It's kind of a different vibe, but I never get tired of it. And I still travel a lot myself. And most of my contributions still for the Perceptive Travel blog are because I've gone to some trade show or I've spoken at a conference or whatever. And I'm like, all right, I got, 2 hours to check out XYZ city, and I'll rage around. And that's why some of my posts are like, how to see the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston in 1 hour, because that's exactly how I did it, because I screwed up and I got there close to closing time during a snowstorm. And I'm like blasting past Paul Revere's pewter and all that. But I write what I experience. And if I screw something up, that's how it is. So I love it and I never get tired of it.
That's awesome. That's how you are made for what you're doing, when you love it and never get tired of it. Now, you mentioned social media always changing, frustrating anybody who's a social media marketer. I think most everyone on the planet who's tried to sell something on social can relate to that. Okay, so it's so hit or miss. Do you feel like it should be the only marketing channel that people use? Because a lot of marketers I talk to today are just like, social. Is there a better way?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Don't do that. Yeah. And especially I think this was brought home during the pandemic, where everything just felt so out of control. And my then business partner at the time, Leslie, who hasn't had enough sense to retire and go enjoy her life now. She's not like me, still out here pounding pavement. Good for her. We said to each other, gosh, what can we tell our audience, our DMOs, our tourism partners, our Main Street people, our economic development people, hotels, control what you can control. There are times where you don't have any control over what Mark Zuckerberg is going to do, who decided Meta was the way to go. And now he's like, whoops, Meta is not the way to go. Yeah, no kidding. Right. Those of us who are old enough to remember Second Life are just like, we did this already. Okay.
Right.
All right. But, the only things that you own and control as a DMO, a CVB, a tour operator, whatever, are your website, your blog on your website, and your email list. And maybe an SMS, text list that people have opted into. That's it. Everything else is owned by someone else. And as my colleague Marcy Masura, I think, said one time, you don't want to be decorating a room in someone else's hotel, because it's going to, at some point, and you see these all the time. They took away my Facebook page. They shut down my Facebook. Is there someone I can call? And I'm like, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care about your Facebook page. Good luck. Stop putting all those eggs into that social media basket, even though that's what I do. I teach social media and digital destination marketing. I've watched these things come and go and come and go. And, you need to be able to and especially in today's, really, it's always been this way, but it's so hard to stay focused. It's so hard to not, chase the squirrel, shiny object. And so you get overwhelmed with, God, what's the most important thing to work on when everyone's screaming that everything is important? No, everything is not important. The things that you own and control are your first priority. And these people who are pouring their heart and soul into social media, again, decorating a room in someone else's hotel, back off that a little bit and plant your priority, lens onto the things that you control. And the thing that really brought this home to me is I went to a couple of different travel and tourism conferences and several different speakers, particularly because of the TikTok flail. TikTok's legal, TikTok's not legal, TikTok's legal, TikTok not,
Right.
Is you need to diversify your marketing channels. And I've always been within reason, try to be in as many places as you can. And I'm a mighty team of one. So I get it. You can't, 24 hours a day, it's all we all get. But all these speakers were saying, you got to diversify and stop doing everything on Instagram and doing everything on TikTok, doing everything on Facebook or whatever it is. And all the speakers were like, okay, you need to, and I'm like, all right, what do you mean by diversify? Thinking that there was some, magical thing that somehow I had missed. And they were all like, you need to have an email list. And I'm like, Like, really?
Yeah.
Email?
Yeah.
This is your big answer? I mean, they're right. They're right, but I just thought that was super funny. It's like,
It sounds so 2010,
right.
you know.
So that's when I said, social media is great. But honestly, and I know we're going to get on the email topic, but for those of you out there who are super locked into social and are not, and are just kind of thinking about email, you need to think harder, but okay. Be thinking about places where your content can last. And at a minimum, you should be repurposing your photos and some of your videos on Pinterest because it has long-term search value. You should be repurposing all those vertical videos onto YouTube as YouTube shorts because then they'll have long-term value. Get some legs out of the stuff that you're working so hard to create and stop putting it on platforms where stuff dies after 24 hours. Yeah. So, thinking about that with regard to social media, where else can I, without a lot of extra work, take the thing I've already created and repurpose it on a platform where it gets more legs, better SEO visibility, new audiences. So I've always been thinking that way as a mighty team of one with my social media. Where can I put this where it'll last longer? But then I really came home to, besides just social media, I need to start teaching people email marketing. And I was like, and there's an element of imposter syndrome. It's like, I mean, I do email marketing, but like it wasn't my main thing. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever you've screwed up is something you can teach other people. So that's kind of got me this, I'm not going to call it pivot. I'm really tired of that, but for gosh sakes, don't be dumping everything into platforms that are owned and controlled by somebody else.
Yeah. So smart. Now, email has been around forever. It is not, not the sexiest product, but if it's effective, who cares, right? So what can you tell us about how effective email is or can be when used right for tourism promotion?
Yeah, it gives you something that that the super brainiac Christopher Penn calls reliable reach. And these days with algorithms, I don't know about you, but I will take a piece of content. I will think it's pretty good. I will think that it's appealing to my audience and what I do. I will post it at the right times in front of the right, and it just sits there. The algorithm, oh my God, I'm tired of dealing with it. Reliable reach via email, you can reach out and speak to your list, when you want to, within reason. Don't overdo it. But the effectiveness of it is that it allows you to speak to a community that you're building. And nobody talks about community building with email, but, Ann Handley, with Marketing Profs is a great example of someone who's built a community around her email newsletter. So you should check that out if you want an example of somebody who does a great, human email. But, the effectiveness, I mean, if you just do some Googling, these companies will give you, I saw a stat that said email ROI, for every dollar you put in, you get, $42 of ROI back. And then there was another stat that came up. There's like email marketing is 3,600% to 4,000% more effective than other marketing methods. And I'm like, really? Like, where are you getting this stuff? So, yeah. I think it is universally agreed that it helps. It can be very successful done right. But I think you need to have reasonable expectations. It is going to take a little while. And I know we're going to talk about that later, building that list. And sometimes people will, come at you from a direction that's not on your email list. So the classic, thing that I have found honestly doesn't work for my business. It might work for your DMO. It might work for your tour operator business or whatever is, get them on your email list, the funnel. God, I hate the funnel. Like, it's like, we're humans. Stop sticking me in a funnel. But okay, get them in the funnel and then pound the crap out of them all the way down until they either buy something at the bottom of the funnel or they unsubscribe in disgust at the bottom of the funnel. I'm like, that's not what I found. In my experience, I will communicate with my email list roughly every other week. It's been a little less frequent recently because I've got some stuff going on with caregiving, and you got to be realistic with life. Mm-hmm. But the effectiveness for me is I have seen people who have, they hit reply on the email and they talk to me, which I think is huge. I hear people come up and say, a friend of mine recommended your email newsletter. I've had people, just kind of out of the blue on social say, I get so much out of your email newsletter and I really appreciate it. And boy, and I screenshot that sucker, asked permission to use it. And I did one of those and I turned it into a reel on Instagram, I'm just like, here's a testimonial. And the real thing for me that I found that the people were actually paying attention to, even though they might not, there's not a lot of chatter like there is on social, is I tried to do some list cleaning at one point. So I, make your list healthy, make sure it's not full of a bunch of dead wood. So I sent out, kind of the standard, hey, I've noticed from looking at my stats, that you have not been able to get around to opening or clicking anything in any of my emails in the last year. If you don't want to hear from me anymore, that's cool. Just hit the unsubscribe button. And I got this flood of emails back that said, don't you dare take me off your list. I mean to get around it. I'm sorry. I'll read it more. I wasn't trying to be a nag, but that just really, I was kind of gobsmacked. I was like, okay, we're good. Okay. Yeah. So it is a heck of a lot more effective. I'm not sure it's 3,600% more effective than anything else, but yeah, I think the stats back it up. And my personal experience, honestly, has backed that up.
Yeah. I love hearing that. Now, you mentioned a rhythm of about every other week. I think that is a good rhythm from the point of view of someone who would be getting your emails, because I don't want to be flooded with messages from you. It also sounds like a pretty good rhythm for you as a solopreneur to, be able to get this out. So assuming that a lot of our listeners are in a similar situation, they're a mighty team of one, as you said, and they say, okay, I bet I could get an email out every other week, let's say. How should they plan for those emails? What should be in them? What's the mix of sales messages and updates on your dog and all the other things? How do I make sure these emails get the kind of reaction that you seem to be getting from your audience?
Yeah, and honestly, once a month is okay. There have been times when life has been crazy. And I know there are people who say, by God, if I say I'm going to send out my email on the second Tuesday of every month, that's when it goes out. And there are times, particularly with an enterprise environment where, you do have to hit that mark. But, for kind of your solopreneurs and your smaller teams and some other stuff who offer a very personalized, specialized product or service, monthly is okay. And there have been times where, my life's blowing up, the world is blowing up, whatever. And I joke with my husband, I'm like, I don't think anybody's sitting in their email inbox right now saying, where the hell is that Tourism Currents newsletter?
Right.
I don't have enough newsletters to read in my inbox. Where is she? What is she doing? So monthly is okay. I always, bring value before you make the ask. And I just had that happen this morning on LinkedIn. I normally don't accept connection requests from people that I don't know or who are at least in the tourism industry. Yeah. And I've gotten a little looser about that lately. And boy, sometimes I regret it, because just this morning, somebody who has a travel thingy, requested to connect. I looked at his profile. I'm like, seems legit, accepted. And here comes the DM this morning. Hi, I have an AI thing that will help you put together tours. And I'm like, number one, that means you have not read my profile. You don't know what I do. I don't create tours. I'm not a DMO. I am a B2B. DMOs are my clients. And, I hit reply on it and I said, ugh, don't pitch someone with a sales pitch right after a connection. Don't do that. Not interested. Thanks. I know a lot of other people who would just block them. And I may still do that if I get cranky enough and get another cup of coffee today. But I'm just like, the guy brought me no value, but immediately made the ask. So it's the same thing with your email newsletter. If you're seeing it as a way to put your product or service out there, then answer the question really without people having to ask, why should I trust this source of information? So you need to have a mix in those emails of, let's say, a tour operator. You have tours coming up, obviously. But leading with, you have a new tour that you're putting together, highlights from tours that you're already doing, comments and photos and comments are even better from people who have taken one of your tours and particularly enjoyed, the pasta making class. Get down, those both go macro with obvious stuff, the logistics of taking one of your tours, the itineraries of your tours, where you go, how awesome the destinations are, how awesome the people are, how you are supporting local businesses, how are you supporting the economic development and the success of small businesses, of people who do things on your tour routes, the macro stuff, sprinkle in some of those, but also kind of the micro things, tell me more about that pasta class. And I know you want to tell me all about all the things, but just tell me about that one thing. Tell me about why that pasta class is special, what kind of cool stuff you get to do, the person who teaches me, how long have they lived in that town or village or wherever it is, and what is their background, and how did they come across their expertise? And, give me that soda straw look as well. And if I grow to trust that your individual micro moments are carefully thought out and valuable to me, then I'm going to honestly probably make the assumption that your entire tour is the same way, and you got me.
That is so helpful. You're not just trying to get some mind share, but the messaging you put out is a representation of your entire organization, even if it's just one person. It's a representation of your professionalism, your trustworthiness, your ability to curate what people experience and what they don't experience, right? Like,
yes.
if you're putting a bunch of junk in the newsletter, it probably means you're putting a bunch of junk that nobody wants to do on your itinerary, right? Or that's how it would land with your reader.
Yeah, you want some general things, but if you just tell me, hey, we're awesome and we have something for everyone, that is so lazy, lazy, lazy. Because no, if you're a DMO, you probably don't have something for everyone. There are going to be things in your town that I don't give a fat rat's patootie about, okay? I'm a city kid. If you're, pumping your hunting and fishing and stuff, I'm not interested, but you may have other things that would interest me specifically. But I just think it's so important to front load that value before making that ask. And people throw percentages around. If somebody wants a percentage from me, okay, 80% cool general information, 20% hi. If this sounds awesome to you, click here. Or what my friend Chris Brogan calls the selly sell. Okay, now it's the selly sell. And Christopher Penn, to go back to him, whenever he has something that he just pumps out so much value. He is a terrific resource for data analysis and for AI. But when he's ready to, sell a workshop, sell a product, sell a course, sell a consulting session with him, he puts in the subject line of his email, blatant promo. And if I don't want a blatant promo, I will just delete it. But a lot of times I'm like, I like him so much. Okay, I'll read your blatant promo.
Yeah.
So he's right up there. You may not want to get that obvious, but, provide value before you make the ask. Mix up your content with macro stuff and those, basically, what do I do about my luggage? And what do I do of, answer those questions for those group tour operators. For people, honestly, like me, who are not really into group tours. Why am I not into group tours? Because I think the itinerary is too restrictive. I don't want to be herded off and on a bus all day long. I don't want to have my suitcases outside my room by 7 a.m. Are you high? So, take away my concerns with, let's talk about the flavor of our tours. And if you are selling a small type tour, your itineraries, you may not run all over the doggone county or state. Other people may want that. They may want all the things all day. Great. Sell that to those kinds of people. Know your audience. If you're pitching a smaller tour, then take away my concerns about group tours and about being smushed from one place to another. And again, you might kind of get me going. Maybe I'll read more.
Yeah, I love all of that. So one of the great things about email is that after you send an email, especially if you're using one of these newsletter services, a blast email service like your MailChimps, Constant Contacts, things like that, you have an abundance of information available to you after the email goes. So I'm curious what you think is a good way for that solopreneur, that small shop, to measure the effectiveness of their emails. What kind of metrics should they be looking at? Is it the open rate, the click-through rate? Are they looking at sales conversions, or is that kind of an unhelpful way to think about it altogether?
Because of privacy activities, which, again, as a human, I'm all for that. As a marketer, it's like, bummer. your open rates have gotten a bit unreliable. When it hits servers in certain ways, it can give you an indication that the email has been opened. It can give you an indication in your analytics that every single link in your email has been clicked. And I started noticing this a couple of years ago, where my email would go out and immediately these scads of people had opened it, and these scads of people had clicked every single link in the email, including all of the social media button links at the bottom. And I'm like, no, don't be so in love with yourself that you believe that. It's like, I'm not that interesting. And so that's when I started to see the impact of the privacy software that was, protecting people from people like me snooping to see what they do. So now I'm more interested in a physical activity of a click through, has become more my metric. I mean, I look at the open rates. I do try to beat my open rate, because the industry open rates are just so all over there. And I do a very niche thing. And so it's kind of, am I getting an apples to apples comparison here? I don't know. Honestly, I don't care what everybody else does. I'd rather beat myself. But the click-through rate, especially if you can look at those unique clicks, and sometimes that does get creepy. You can specifically see, and my list is not super huge, and I've known a lot of the people on it in person. So I'm like, oh, Susie in Iowa was real interested in this thing that was halfway down. Honestly, I probably don't follow up with that information as much as I should, but I do poke into those unique click-through rates. But don't discount and I always invite people to hit reply at the bottom of my newsletters. And when they do, to me, that's huge. Busy people who are taking the time to reply to me like a human. And they may have questions, they may have comments or whatever, but don't discount that as a very visible sign that someone is engaging and paying attention. And most, email service providers, ESP, can also tell you when your email's been forwarded. And don't discount that either. That's someone who is saying, hey, this is good stuff. Hopefully they're not saying, boy, this sucks, and forwarding it, but hopefully they're saying something positive. But I think those are two metrics that they're super small usually, but I think they mean something, replies, actual replies, and forwarding. But my top one is probably click-through rate now.
Yeah. You said something a minute ago that I think a lot of our listeners could probably relate to, which is, I don't have a super big list.
Yeah.
So, if you're sitting there and you don't have a super big list, you might be thinking, well, email marketing sounds great for somebody else, but because my list is so small, am I going to get a ROI? Do I qualify for it? So let's talk about list size. How many subscribers do you need for this to be effective? And do you have some ideas for how to build up that subscriber base?
Yeah. I mean, everyone starts with one subscriber, probably your mom or dad. And then the second or third is you subscribing to yourself so you can see what your own stuff looks like. And if you have team members, them subscribing. Okay, fine. But you need to be patient. And boy, we are not in a world that seems to reward patience. But you're playing a long game with email marketing, especially in the world that we are in travel and tourism. Long decision-making time, especially B2B. Boy, the sales cycle is just lengthy. So, recognize that it's going to take a while to build that list. The people that you have, talk to them. It's fine. To be honest, I mean, I've been in business, 16 years, and my list is under 1,000. But it gets good engagement. It gets good activity. It gets positive, feedback. It's working for me. So you need to try not to compare yourself too much to what everybody else is doing and what the big mouths are saying you need to be doing, and the pump and dumpers and all that. But you also need to be aware that people are overwhelmed right now, right? I mean, we've been overwhelmed for years, but now we're really. So you need to make it stupid easy and worth their while to subscribe to your newsletter. So for starters, the sign up box needs to be on every page of your website. There needs to be a call to action at the bottom of every single blog post that says, want to get our news first, or want to have info about our upcoming tour and want to know about it first. sign up here for our newsletter and make it, explain to people, and you'll probably most likely do this. You'll also have a landing page set up that is specifically on your website, a landing page that's specifically set up for email subscriptions, email signups. And that's going to be the URL, the link that you are going to share out regularly on social. Just have it on a calendar, that you periodically share on your social channels. Hey, did you know we have a monthly explain the value and the periodicity? Because if you say, we email you every day, I'm like, oh no, I'm out.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's not happening. But we'll only talk to you monthly with occasional specials. And if you're registered with us, then you'll get the news first. You'll get announcements of our tours first. You'll hear about sales and specials first, that kind of thing. So explain why it's valuable, explain the periodicity, make it stupid easy to sign up because it's everywhere they go on your website, at the bottom of every blog post, because you never know how people are coming into your website. And at the bottom, put it in your email signature. Don't have too much stuff in your email signature, but that should definitely be in your email signature. Again, sharing regularly out on social that this option is available to people. And then I'm a huge fan of running social media ad campaigns, sponsored posts, whatever you want to call them, to bring people to your email list from social media. And so you can target, as you know, for Facebook advertising, for example, again, as a marketer, super awesome. As a human, super creepy. But you can set that, sponsored post down in front of, let's say, just people who already follow your Facebook page. Hey, did you know we have this thing? And the times that I have run ad campaigns like that, I have been very successful at picking up email subscribers. Doesn't mean I want to boot them off my Facebook page. I'm happy to talk to them in both places. But now, I have their attention and their interest on a platform that has reliable reach, as Chris Penn calls it, that I own, that I control. So making it easy, talking about it everywhere. Don't forget, those of you who go to trade shows, conferences and trade shows, particularly if you have a booth there, newsletters need to be opt-in. I mean, this has been since the Can Spam Act in 2003. You don't put somebody on your list who hadn't asked to be there. I'm sorry to be a nag, but too many people do it.
Yeah.
But you can set things up at your trade show booth that says, if you're interested, we have an email newsletter. By signing this, you're giving us permission to add you to the list. Are you sure that's okay? Ask that question. Honestly, that's why a lot of people don't want to put their business card into your fishbowl to get your iPad or whatever, because they know you're going to slap them on their list. I won't do it. I won't get slapped on your list. No, I don't have time to be unsubscribing all day long. So, everywhere you go and are, online and offline, offer that as an option and explain why it brings value to people. Answer that what's in it for me question, but try to have it everywhere. And as for pop-ups, I loathe pop-ups. I hate pop-ups. Those suckers work. But
I know they
please,
work. They work.
right? But have the pop-up. Give me a few minutes on your site before you leap into my face and say, you want my thing?
Right.
Give me a minute or so on your site. I may have landed there by accident, and you don't want me on your list then.
Yeah.
But be ubiquitous and be patient as people, sign up. You may finally want to consider a lead magnet. Something that people will get as a little reward for signing up on your list. For tour operators, a cool special download that you only get through that lead magnet that has a packing list. Something like that brings real value to people as a lead magnet, literally what it looks like, something to draw people to your email list. Consider that as well. It's a little tougher for DMOs because you don't want to gatekeep your guide there. Although I'm not sure who downloads a PDF guide. I sure don't, but somebody does. So God bless them.
Yeah.
But think about a lead magnet as well as a way to tell people, hey, again, here's something valuable that I will provide to you. Truly valuable, not junky. And that can help some with your signups as well. And just be patient.
Yeah, so much good stuff there. And Sheila, I know you have lots more resources, including a blog series on this topic. For people that want to learn more about you, about working with you, or follow you, join your email list, where would you send them?
I would send them to my landing page. Actually, I've got a download page with some downloads and a tip as well. Have yourself set up for like a quarterly audit to double check a number of different things. But one of the things you should probably check is, is my lead magnet still viable? Does it need to be updated? Does it need to be swapped out? But I can, we did a short series on email marketing, how to get started, how to grow your subscriber list, and then a third one that talks about combining blog post signups with building an email list, which there's some drawbacks to it. But if you're trying to do both a blog and an email list build, that's a possibility. And a lot of people don't know about it. So we can provide the link in the show notes of the downloads page or if you don't want any downloads, just the straight, here, get the email. And like I said, I do it, every other week. And these days, mostly it's monthly.
Yeah.
And I honestly wrote the blog post series because that was about the same time that I said, I got to start teaching email marketing. I would be delinquent if I say I talk about digital destination marketing and I'm not addressing email. I need to do that. And so I made myself go through and remember, honestly, all the things that I screwed up, all the mistakes that I made. I turned those into a blog post series, just 3, and we can put that in the show notes.
Yeah, excellent. So everybody check out those show notes. We're going to link to Sheila's resources. Now, Sheila, before I let you go, we have some questions we ask everybody. These are just for fun. So just answer off the top of your head. No pressure. When you book travel, are you choosing window seats or aisle seats?
Oh, I'm aisle. Definitely. Yeah. I want to get up and move around.
I'm with you on that for sure. What's something in your carry-on that you wouldn't travel without?
An umbrella. Because when you need one, you need one. You don't really want to be paying, $30 for one in a drugstore. So a small fold-up umbrella, and flip-flops. I know they fit, and if all my shoes simultaneously explode, I have flip-flops that I can wear.
Fascinating. Those are 2 great ideas. Next question. If you had a free airline pass and a week with nothing else to do, where would you be headed next?
Hong Kong.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's one of my favorite cities in the world. Wonderful energy, visually stunning. The Star Ferry, the energy, the people running around doing things. I never get tired of Hong Kong. U.S. destination, gosh, that's so hard. Big city, New York, Chicago. Love Chicago. Smaller city, Des Moines, Kansas City, Oklahoma City.
Yeah,
Oklahoma City. I'm telling you.
Yeah, all great places. Last question. What is one thing you have seen or done on the road that you wish you could go back and experience again with somebody you love?
Ooh, gosh, there's so much. Snowshoeing. I have a bum knee and I'm going to get it fixed next year. Yay. But, I can't do skiing. My husband's a skier, so he can do all those things. But I go to a snow destination and I'm like, well, what's there for me here? And I don't dare ice skate for the same reason. But I learned, basic snowshoeing a few years ago. And I've never been with my husband. And the best time I had was at Solitude in Utah, just out amongst the trees, and a snowshoeing pass is super cheap compared to a ski lift, ski pass. And it's quiet and it's a great workout, but you do feel like you're working out, but still it's worth it. Then you can pig out at the tavern when you get back. But I would like to go snowshoeing, I think, with my husband.
Yeah. What a great memory. I hope you are able to make that happen.
Yeah.
Very soon. Sheila, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us for this interview. I want to let you know that conversations like this are just part of what you will hear if you tune into a full episode of the Gather and Go podcast. When you listen, you'll get travel news you may not hear anywhere else, along with some really helpful road tips, some smart analysis, and maybe even a hot take from me about issues that are impacting travel right now. Now, you can hear this full episode along with many others by searching for Gather and Go in your favorite podcast player, or you can click on the link right below this video or one of the videos right here to my side. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.